beneath the quiet lights, in the gentle hum of the night shift, where the hospital hallways glowed with soft white light and the world outside lay still. Nurse Clara moved like a quiet melody, graceful, efficient, and kind-hearted. She had worked at St. Mercy Hospital for 5 years, tending to patients with a warmth that never dimmed, even on the longest nights. Clara had long accepted the quiet rhythm of her life. She had no time for romance, not with 12-hour shifts, charts to update, and patients who depended on her. Love, she thought, was something that existed in the pages of the novels she read during her short breaks. That was until Dr. Andrew Hale arrived. He was a new trauma surgeon, recently transferred from a bustling New York hospital, carrying with him a reputation for brilliance and a hint of mystery. At first, Clara kept her distance. Doctors came and went, and she had no desire to get tangled in anything fleeting. But Andrew wasn't like the others. He noticed things others didn't: how she calmed a frightened patient with just a touch, how she worked late to cover a sick coworker's shift, how she hummed under her breath when she thought no one was listening. Their first real conversation happened during a code blue. Amid the chaos, their eyes met, calm within the storm. They moved together seamlessly, a quiet understanding blooming between them. Afterward, as they walked down the hallway to catch their breath, he looked at her and said, "You were amazing in there." She blushed, brushing it off with a joke. But something shifted. Coffee breaks turned into shared dinners. Night shifts turned into quiet conversations on the hospital rooftop. Watching the sunrise, he told her about his past, the patients he couldn't save, the city he left behind. She told him about her dream of becoming a nurse after her mother battled cancer, and how this hospital became her second home. They fell in love not with grand gestures, but with small, quiet moments, the way he remembered how she took her coffee, the way she left him notes when she knew his shifts were hard. In a place filled with pain and goodbyes, they found something tender and enduring. One rainy evening, as the storm whispered against the windows, Andrew pulled Clara aside just before their shift ended. "Marry me," he said simply, holding out a delicate ring, shaped like a stethoscope wrapping around a tiny sapphire. "Not tomorrow, not next month, someday, whenever you're ready. Just say you'll let me wait for you." Clara smiled, eyes soft with emotion. "You've already waited," she whispered, "and I've already said yes." They stayed in that hospital for years, healing others, holding each other, and building a love story in a place most people only remember in times of pain. But for them, St. Mercy wasn't just a hospital. It was where love found them, quiet, steady, and real. The bookstore encounter. On a quiet rainy afternoon, Emma wandered into a small bookstore tucked away on a corner street. As she browsed through the poetry section, her fingers brushed against another person's hand. She looked up and met the eyes of a young man, who smiled shyly and said, "Great taste, you picked my favorite book." His name was Daniel. They started talking, first about books, then about life. That conversation turned into coffee into long walks, and long walks into late-night phone calls. Slowly, they realized they had found something rare, a connection deeper than words. Years later, they returned to that same bookstore. In the very same spot where their hands had first touched, Daniel knelt down and asked Emma to spend the rest of her life with him. And with tears in her eyes, she said yes.